So does my family. So much so that each year our tradition is to go to Memorial State Park in San Mateo County for our annual camping trip. My grandfather started this camping trip back in the 70s, and he took my mom and her sisters camping when they were young. Some things have changed since their trip to ours. Most importantly, we've upgraded from sleeping on the ground to tents. We have expanded 10 cousins, 3 uncles, and 1 crazy grandfather. And no mothers are allowed whatsoever on the camping trip. I started going on this camping trip around the age of 5, and I've participated in it ever since then. Growing up as a kid, each year I looked forward to exploring the Redwood Forest with my cousins, playing endless amounts of games. However, getting older, we started to transition back to the campground, learning the card games that the adults played while we were out running around. Playing hide and go seek, tag, imaginary games, climbing over the redwoods was what we did constantly. We loved it. However, sometimes we explored a little bit too far and needed the adults to come and save us. One time we were climbing a hill. My cousin was right next to me, takes one step, slides down the hill. In the process of sliding down the hill, he disrupted a yellow jacket's nest at the bottom. As he gets up, yellow jacket starts swarming him. He's screaming, trying to knock him off of him. I don't know what's going on because all I hear is zzz, and he's just whacking, but I can't see him because they're going so fast. His sister, my cousin Ella, lets out the loudest scream you can imagine. The adults are back at the campground. Just by hearing the scream, they knew it was Ella, and they knew one of us was hurt or something terrible had happened. So my uncle and dad came running down, saw my cousin screaming, run towards him, and then boom, they hit the yellow jackets too. They get stung as well. They got my cousin out of there. Luckily, none of them are allergic to yellow jackets because they all suffered around 30 bites and stings around their body. So growing up as a kid, I loved running around the forest. That's what I liked doing with my cousins. But around the age of 10, I retired from being an explorer and came back to the campsite to learn the card games that the adults played. Pedro, most importantly, is my family's identity and is the Italian card game that everyone knows and must be taught to every grandchild at the annual camping trip. It is almost like a rite of passage. So the year that I learned, spent the whole day. It's a very confusing game, especially when you're a 10-year-old. I kept on making countless mistakes over and over again. So much so that I just reached a point of complete frustration and broke down in tears at the table. The year I learned Pedro may have been traumatic for me and some of my fellow cousins, but it symbolized the time that the kids were getting older and starting to come back to the campsite and hanging out with the adults and not so much running around the forest. Since the first time I went on my family's camping trip to the most recent being last summer, I've always enjoyed and looked forward to spending time with my cousins, siblings, dad, uncles, and crazy grandfather. When my cousins and I were young, the camping trip was all about running around the forest and exploring and having fun playing games. But as we got older, we transitioned back to the campsite to hang out with the adults more, play games, talk, and do more of the adult things. This trip is by far my favorite family tradition and one that I look forward to each year. In the next couple of years, we will see the trip change again, with possibly a new wave of young campers eager to explore the forest. Thank you.